Hello, and welcome to Butterfly Transformations. You're with Tanisha Ali, getting you out of your cocoon, out of your chrysalis, and into your wings. How is everybody doing today? I hope that you're doing very well. I hope that you feel peaceful, productive, and prosperous. Today, we are talking about a very interesting topic that a lot of you have commented on, karmic relationships. This is an amazing topic. Everyone meet Kismet. This is the Queen of Wands cat. Anyway, we're talking about karmic relationships today. This is a very interesting topic that is dialogued about a lot in spiritual circles, and I felt like it was something we needed to dig into today because of some comments I've been getting on a few videos. And I just think it's a prime time to share information about what a karmic relationship is, what the purpose of a karmic relationship is, and why it's so important to be aware of which relationships in your life are karmic relationships. So if this sounds like a topic you want to dig into, let's dig in together. If you haven't purchased my book, Manifesting Your Masterpiece, please go on to Amazon and get your copy. And for those of you, many hundreds, thousands of you guys actually who have already purchased a book, please do a review. Okay, a 5-star review. But anyway, so let's dig in. What is a karmic relationship? Why do we have them? How do you recognize them? First, let's talk about soulmate relationships. Think of soulmate relationships as the umbrella to all relationships. A soulmate relationship is just another soul who you've had an agreement with during a particular lifetime to come together to fulfill a certain purpose. Sometimes it's accomplishing something in a particular lifetime together. Sometimes it's accomplishing something during a particular season for a reason in your life. Other times it's coming together to fulfill what lesson the soul needs to learn during a particular lifetime experience. There are those relationships that we get into, that we choose. There are those relationships that come to us out of nowhere, that are a part of a divine plan, and the synchronistic and serendipitous way that those relationships come about signify this is a relationship that has been preordained, that we need to have and that we must have. And these are the kinds of relationships that I'm talking about in the way of karmic relationships. Why? Because the primary purpose of a karmic relationship is to have you to learn a particular lesson that you have yet to learn and that you have yet to master on the ladder of life that you need to master in order to level up in a particular lifetime. To the extent that you fail to level up, you will continue to experience these types of relationships until you learn the lessons that these relationships come to teach you. And ultimately, it's dealing with your baggage and learning to love yourself by cleaning out your emotional debris, your clutter, and all of your gunk. Think of yourself as a clogged pipe, okay? And think of the karmic relationship as the snake that you put down the pipe to get all the gunk out so that the water can flow. That's the way I want you to think of a karmic relationship. Now, depending upon where you are in your spiritual journey, your spiritual continuum, your karmic relationship will be characterized by certain things. The worse your karmic relationship, the more work you have to do and come into a greater understanding of yourself. The longer these karmic relationships last and the more hell they wreak on your life, the more work you have as a soul in terms of your growth. Now, why are relationships chosen for these lessons? Because we learn our best lessons in relationships. It is through the consortium with another soul, with another individual, that we learn those things that we simply cannot learn on our own. You can sit under the tree and meditate all day. You can pray okay, on the mat all day long, but not unless and until you come into contact with another person that mirrors you and shows you what you need to work on, are you going to be able to develop the tools to develop a greater level of self-awareness. So what is a karmic relationship defined by? Tests, trials, challenges, those darker aspects of yourself that either you have failed to be able to deal with, or think that maybe you've dealt with and rooted out and still have not dealt with. The items that you need to address that are from your childhood wounds. Everything about yourself that you need to identify. Your failure to love yourself. Your failure to be able to have a level of self-awareness and see yourself. Oftentimes we have to see ourselves through the eyes of other people. That's why you will hear me say in my videos that it's so important that when you're in relationship with other people, that you identify the things in them that you do not like, the things in them that you criticize and despise, because often that is a projection. It always is a projection of something in you that you need to actually correct. It's a signifier or an indicator of the work that you still need to do. So being able to understand that the people and the relationships that are in our lives come into our lives to teach us more about ourselves so that we can develop a greater a greater intimacy with ourselves, is something that is priceless. And it's one of the major benefits of being in relationship with other people when you are trying to do the work. People want to talk about karmic relationships because they want to understand, how is this thing turning my life upside down, and why is it so crazy, and what is this about? And I feel this strong pull, which is one of the signature hallmarks of a karmic relationship. One of the hallmarks, one of many, is that you feel a magnetic pull towards this person that's indescribable. Why? Because you guys have an agreement incarnating into this lifetime that person will come to you at a certain time in your life to teach you a lesson. All right. And so when that person comes in, there's a soul recognition. There's a familiarity that already exists that you can't plan for, that you can't block, or anything like that. It is a part of your soul's evolutionary path, and you must go through that particular experience in order to elevate and to ascend and to level up in your life and in your subsequent relationship. So the person comes in, it's a serendipitous meeting, or it feels as though it's the perfect synchronicities. All the stars are in alignment, all right, for this person to come into your life. The second thing is the feeling of deep familiarity. The third thing is a lot of passion, a lot of heat. You see this person and they look like they're everything that you could possibly want in another human being, okay? Most of the time. If they may be physically a little bit different, or if they may be different in terms of some other physical essence or soul quality, it's something that you're able to get beyond in order to experience the tension that the relationship or that the attraction creates. What happens in a karmic relationship is, after that initial period, which some people could call a honeymoon period, but technically I consider a honeymoon period somewhere between the first 6 months or so. It's between that time that you really get to determine who this person is, if there's really any serious synergy for building, and it's enough time for the gunk of that person to kind of come up and reveal itself. So in a karmic relationship, very early on, in between the hot flashes, I'm going to call them, in between the hot flashes, very early on, you see aspects of the person that can lead you to believe that there is something unhealthy or not quite right about this relationship. But remember, because of the soul contract, you have to get a taste of this, which means you're going to experience it, okay, at the level that you are when it comes into your life, once you allow it to come into your life. So what I mean is that you begin to have experiences that kind of take a cyclical path, kind of like a circle. Let's call it the children of Israel, for lack of a better word, where you keep kind of going in a circle, and the very things that are a challenge to you, or a challenge to the relationship, or a challenge to both people continue to sort of happen at different levels, and the ability to course correct is just not always there. In a karmic relationship, depending upon how long it lasts and whether or not both people can elevate and do the level of spiritual cleansing that they need to be able to do in order to correct a situation, which normally is not the whole point of a karmic relationship anyway. The point of it is not to end up with the person, at least not in that particular cycle, okay? And very rarely are both people able to kind of come back together at a later date, because that was not the purpose in the first place. Remember, there is a divine contract with the karmic, which is why it's such a beautiful thing. It's the kind of thing that can take your life, turn your life upside down. It can be very hurtful. It can expose your vulnerabilities. It can rip your heart open. It can take up 5, 10 years of your life. It can take up 5, 6, 10 months of your life. But what happens is that person opens you up to something that you still have yet to triumph over or deal with. Let me give you an example. Let's say you end up in a karmic relationship with someone who has been physically abusive, and it takes you 5, 10, 15 years to get out of that situation. Then you can just about know that in most situations, until you've learned the lessons that allowed you to stay in that relationship, to fail to identify the warning signals, to be unable to love yourself enough to realize that you deserved better and that you are a divine being who is entitled to feel liberated, to feel alive in a relationship, and to be in a space where you can just be who you are. Until you learn that lesson, the next relationship is going to come in and teach you another aspect of that same lesson. And if you don't learn it in that particular relationship, the next one will come to teach you a similar lesson. The hope is that with each relationship, you are not dealing with the exact same things, but you may be dealing with other aspects of yourself that you need to come to know in order to come to strengthen, so that you can close out. If you're in pre-K and go to kindergarten, right? If you're in kindergarten and go to first grade, you got to pass the test, right? You got to take the ITBS before the end of the school year, or the CTBS, or the TAX, or whatever it is. And once you've learned those lessons, then you get to go to the next grade, or then you get to go to the next level, right? So it's the same thing with these relationships. The longer they last and the more dysfunctional and toxic that they are, and you end them, the more the next person that comes in is still going to be striving to teach you and purify you and purge you of those same lessons, which is why people wonder often, why am I attracting the same type of individual into my life? You are attracting the same kind of individual into your life because you did not realize yet what it was in you that still needed to be healed, where it was within yourself that you are still blind to certain things that you need to be able to see in order to really level up and pull in, attract in that divine life partner. That is the point. So a person can be in a series of karmic relationships throughout their entire life and may not necessarily get to the point of attracting the person that they really want into their life, because they are failing to identify the aspects within themselves that need to be corrected, that need to be purged, that need to be healed and dealt with ultimately, so that they can be the frequency of the person that it is that they say that they want. So let's say, for example, you want a kind, a compassionate, a loving mate in your life. You want someone who will be faithful to you. You want someone who will go the distance with you. You want someone who can accept you for who you are. And you want someone who understands your need to be an independent spirit in your life. Until you are able to model or to exemplify those same qualities within yourself, you're going to attract people who also test you with those shadow aspects of yourself, which you still need to deal with. So what happens in these relationships is there's a push and pull energy. there's a conflict when those two shadow aspects, which mirror each other, come into union, and there's not enough work that's being done to purge the heaviness of those lower vibrational energies that need to be let go of. The beauty, as I mentioned, of the karmic relationship is that it paves the way for you to have the next level of relationship, until you work on yourself enough to where you pull in that person that is your ideal mate, that will be your divine life partner. For some people, it happens in a lifetime. For other people, it doesn't happen in a lifetime. For some people who want to settle and are not interested in doing the work, they may end up with that karmic, or they may end up with that soulmate, which is fairly a harmonious kind of a relationship, but it doesn't cause them to really grow because there's not enough tension that helps to purge what is within both parties that needs to be purged. So the most important thing that I want you to understand about a karmic relationship is that it is designed for your soul's growth. And it is a blessing in your life, because once you get past that particular level, you can expect, if you do the work, for your next relationship to be more aligned, if not totally aligned, with all of the things that you would want in a divine life partner. That is a beautiful thing. You have karmic debt that has to be paid, that has to be balanced. And the way that happens is through relationships. So you have these people that you're going to have these encounters with that you really can't get away from. The important thing is for you to learn, or to be able to ask yourself at the end of that reunion of sorts, or at the end of that relationship, what was it that that person came into my life to teach me about myself? What lessons had I still not learned that I thought I had learned? What things did that person show me that were aspects of myself that I still needed to deal with? Okay? And then you can also ask yourself, what was my purpose in the life of that individual? What did I show them? What are they possibly going to be more able to become aware of through their relationship with me? Now, we're not talking about people that may be narcissists. We know what narcissists are. They're totally ego-driven. They don't accept any responsibility for anything that they've done. They spend a lifetime playing head games. You cannot correct the dysfunction of these people. If you're dealing with someone, say, for example, who grew up in a home where they were abused by their mother, for example, the relationship that's established between a mother and a child growing up is a critical one. But let's take that essential nurturing relationship where that child does not get what he or she needs, and they grow up with abandonment issues, rejection issues, and then they begin to compensate with their cerebral capacities and their ability to be smart and to command the attention of others. And that person comes into a relationship and they are a certifiable narcissist, which, you know, there's a very small percentage of people, technically, according to the psychological framework for identifying these people, that are actually bona fide narcissists. But there are many people who have narcissistic traits. The majority of us have some aspect of narcissistic trait. They say 60-70% of us. But they aren't to the extent where it creates a situation where we cannot balance our human interactions and our relationships with other people and see ourselves through the eyes of other people and become self-aware. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those people who, for the most part, are really narcissistic. And in a relationship, it doesn't matter what you do, because of the nature of what they need in a relationship, the emotional fuel, the energetic drain, there's very little that can be done to correct those situations. We're talking about people who have some level of whatever you want to call normalcy, all right? And they can understand and they can take responsibility when they've transgressed their boundaries. They understand what is appropriate and what is not in terms of basic communication. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has issues that they're dealing with. But let's say that person comes into a relationship and they're not able to recognize that what is at the core of some of their wounding has to do with their abandonment issues. So they play the victim all the time. And no matter what you do, they're always a victim. Well, perhaps you've come into that person's life to have the experience that you need to have in terms of your karmic need to learn to love yourself more, to learn to set boundaries, to understand what it means to have reciprocity in a relationship. Perhaps there are some ego aspects of your personality that you need to deal with. So the karmic relationship can be serving one person, ideally both people, provided there's not one person in the relationship who's hopeless. The karmic relationship always has a purpose, and it is to level you up and to take you to the next part of your journey. After a karmic relationship, you are in a better position to define who comes into your life and who needs to be out of your life. You're in a better position to see those people who are not on your level long before they're able to come into your auric space and violate you in different ways. Whatever your particular challenge is, it teaches you how to love yourself more, how to be more independent, how to be more grounded within yourself. A karmic can come into your life for any number of reasons. A karmic can come into your life because you happen to be at a place in your life where you just will fail to recognize your own self-worth. A karmic can come into your life to teach you not to give money away to a man that you may not be married to. A karmic can come into your life to teach you not to be an overgiver. A karmic can come into your life to address your self-martyrdom issues. A karmic can come into your life to help free you from a relationship that you had no business being in the first place. And when their work is done, both people go their separate ways, and the lessons ideally have been learned, and then you raise your vibration, right? Because each time you level up, each time you do a purging, each time you do a healing, you raise your vibratory frequency, right? And what happens when you raise your vibratory frequency is that you attract individuals of a different quality. Now, let's say you don't learn the lessons in a karmic relationship. Let's address that person who, let's say, has a huge ego and they're very selfish and they have emotional wounds from when they were little. They deal with rejection issues. They're very insecure technically, but they like to present themselves as having everything together. They're actually a shell. They're actually a child that's afraid. A karmic comes into their life to teach them the things that they need to learn. They have an opportunity to level up being in a relationship with someone who may be compassionate, who may be able to really show them love, who may be able to go to distance. But for whatever the insecurities that they are, that they have, that they're not willing to address, that other person is mirroring and speaking out on and even projecting to some degree, they're not able to do the work. They're not able to level up. Then when that person leaves out of their life, eventually the person will leave out of their life because the person realizes that they deserve better, right? Or they realize that there's not a resonance anymore in this relationship, or they're not getting enough for what they're giving. So the relationship disintegrates. Then that person is going to attract another person into their life who's going to try to teach them the same lesson that they did not get from the previous person. So when you look at karmics, they get a horrible rap. But what I want you to begin to do is begin to shift in your awareness and understand that you have the power to determine how long a karmic relationship lasts, how long it turns your life upside down. You have the power to determine when you will love yourself enough to let go of something that doesn't serve you and what that feels like. So when you decide to participate in a relationship, you need to be able to identify who this person is. Is this a karmic? Is this a relationship that's going to stretch me and test me? Is this a twin flame relationship that I'm supposed to really be leveling up with? Is this total dysfunction that you find in a karmic relationship that you just can't seem to get straight? Is this a potential divine life partner? Is this a soul mate partner? Someone that I'm just supposed to have a union with during a lifetime to help me get to a certain point, and then we still part in love and we each go our separate ways, but it was never a toxic situation? Or is this a soulmate relationship that I'm just going to be in for the rest of my life because it's comfortable and I'm happy and this is the way love works and all this other stuff? So when you can identify the karmic relationship early enough, then you can know when the relationship cannot materialize into something that can grow into a divine life partnership, which means you do what? You exit. You let the relationship go, because the same cycle, that same children of Israel cycle, it'll never stop, because the person that has the issue won't clean up their act, or the two people are not able to get on the same page, and were never supposed to be able to. The relationship was designed to allow you, your soul, the particular growth that you need, and them as well. They'll continue to get their lessons in life the same way you will continue to get your lessons in life. So you're grateful for that sojourn with that other soul at that particular time, and you remember that the two of you had a relationship in a previous life, and you'll just pick up again in another lifetime and recycle back, and hopefully will have elevated in previous lifetimes, so that at that particular point, perhaps you can ride like this, perhaps you can be ride or die. So see the karmic relationship as something that you need to recognize early on, so that you can see the cyclical pattern of it and the fact that it will not materialize into anything at all. Identify what the lessons are that the karmic relationship came into your life to teach you, and get out of it as soon as possible, and don't backtrack, because it's when you backtrack that you lower your vibrational frequency. Okay, and as you lower your vibrational frequency, it puts you in a dead-end situation that you can't grow in. And these kinds of relationships can take years off of your life. And as you begin to identify the lessons of the relationship and you cut them out in your life in a reasonable amount of time, you find yourself leveling up each time until you get to the point to where you attract that ideal person in your life. So what is it all about? It's about the work that you have to do to ascend to a particular vibrational frequency, which places you in the vortex of all of the things that you say you want in a relationship. So you want to look at, it's a good habit to look at from whence you've come, to look at the previous relationships that you've had in your life, and look at the problems that they had, and ask yourself, or look at the ways in which you may have leveled up in each relationship and the things you still need to work on. Because ideally, you can also decide to reduce the number of karmic relationships you have in your life by identifying what is critical to your highest vibration. In what ways does that relationship need to reflect the level of love that you have for yourself? And what is it that you will not waste time with in your life? Because as you send back these potential karmic partners, you tell the universe, I'm ready for first class. You stop traveling second class. So when you stop traveling second class, you open yourself up to first class, right? But as long as you're traveling in coach, that's what you're going to keep getting. So it doesn't matter who you're dealing with, whether you're a divine feminine or divine masculine. If the relationship is a destructive relationship, which is what a karmic relationship is, it's very destructive. It causes you to deteriorate. You deteriorate financially. It takes a toll on your physical health. Spiritually, you become very disconnected from your higher self. You become disconnected from God and the divine, because if you were listening to God and the divine, you would have been out of that relationship a long time ago, right? Because your intuition is always going to be talking to you. Your intuition is always going to be telling you, hey, this is not the one, this is not the one, this is not the one, right? You need to vacate the premises, but because you don't listen. So also the karmic relationship can also provide that lesson. Listen and look at the warning signs and trust your spirit. When a person comes in and you know from the bat that there's something wrong with this individual, that this individual is wounded, that this individual has emotional issues, and the likelihood of them working them out, they're not going to work them out. You got to be able to compare your baggage with somebody else's baggage. And if their baggage is way down here and your baggage, your level is up here, you're not perfect. You may have some baggage, but if they're way down here, you can't rescue them. This lifetime is not about trying to go in and drag somebody up here. You're not interested in trying to be a teacher or a therapist in your relationship. You need someone that's equally yoked. And until you figure that out, whatever those demons are that that person is dealing with, whether it's self-worth, whether it's addiction, whether it's egomania, whether it's narcissism, narcissistic tendencies, whether it's fears of abandonment, rejection, whatever it is that they're dealing with, you're going to be working overtime and it's going to drag you down. You're going to entrain to this particular reality, which means you lose time, you lose opportunities to attract the quality of mate into your life that you actually deserve. So these are choices that we're making in any given moment. They're warning signs to dealing with the karmic. As I mentioned, they mentally destabilize you because they are mentally wounded and broken. Okay, they do suffer from what some people call a broken consciousness, literally. They are wounded, they are suffering. And so they're going to put you in a headspace that's going to make you, going to drag your vibration down. So your overall health and wellness has to be the priority of the day. When you're in a relationship and it does not feel good, okay, it is a karmic relationship. And it becomes the test for you to muster the inner strength and the outer resources and align body, mind, and spirit to get out of that situation. If you do not, it will take your life force energy and it will drain you. And the best thing you can do is thank that person, whether you do it from your heart or whether you do it verbally. Sometimes it's not possible or even healthy to try to do it verbally, but you have to be thankful for the lesson that the person brings in your life. What you have to do is ask yourself, why did I stay in it this long when I knew from the giddy up that this person had issues? But the issue is, again, there is a lesson that you needed to learn. So hopefully you've gotten that lesson and you're on your merry little way not to look back. So I hope that this video helped to enlighten you in some way about the rationale for a karmic, how to identify a karmic relationship, and why it's important to express some level of gratitude for a karmic relationship. You're with Tanisha Ali of Butterfly Transformations, helping you to gain clarity, to up-level your mindset, to heal and clear energetic and emotional blockages so that you can manifest the glory of God that is within you. I hope you have a peaceful, productive, prosperous, and loving day. If you have not shared, commented, subscribed, or liked the video, please make sure you do so, and I'll see you around for the next video. Let me know what other content you'd like for me to speak about on the channel, and I'll be more than happy to give it some attention.